Hi everyone, I'm Amanda Kendall and today we're talking about exploring Pinterest. You might have seen me speak at a City of Joondalup library in the past, and at the moment we're doing things a little bit differently online and have a series of videos about some social media topics, and today's one is Pinterest. So if you have been wondering about what Pinterest is, you are in the right place to learn more. Today, we're going to cover what exactly is Pinterest, why you might want to use Pinterest, how to find some interesting pins, how to save and organize your pins, how to add your own pins, and how businesses might use pins as well. Now, there's two ways to use Pinterest. You can either go to their website at pinterest.com. It's like interest with a P on the front, pinterest.com, or you can use their app on a mobile phone or a tablet. So they work in really similar ways, they're just a little bit different. And in today's presentation, I've used screenshots from both the app on a phone and from the desktop, just so you can see how they look. So you can see there on the right, that is an example from Pinterest, from the app, in fact. And of course, right now during coronavirus times, apparently making sourdough is really in. So I thought, well, let's have a look. And you can see there a couple of pins about how to make a sourdough starter. And that's the beauty of Pinterest, is that having seen those pins, you could tap on those or click on them on a desktop, and they would take you through to some more information, typically to a blog post or a website that talks about it. So that's one of the best ways to find information using Pinterest. So let's get on to what exactly is Pinterest. I like to think of it as a virtual pin-up board where you can collect ideas and information. So you might have in the past, or maybe still do in parts of my office here behind me, you might have a pin-up board where you save things. You might have, a little cutout recipe or, a picture or a ticket or information or something like that you pin up to a board. And that's basically the premise behind Pinterest. Virtual pin-up boards, and you can have multiple boards. This is the great thing, that you can have boards for different topics. So if you think of it also as a visual Google, so when you need information or ideas, you might go to Google and Google something, but you can equally, for lots of great topics, go into the Pinterest site, so either at pinterest.com or using the Pinterest app, and search for anything that you want and find pins on that topic. Pins might be pictures, or they might be pictures with links through to articles or blog posts. So people add links and images from around the internet onto Pinterest, and that's how you find them. And if you want to keep them, then you can save them onto your different boards. And we'll talk about boards in a minute. And as I mentioned, you can use this on a desktop or a mobile device, or both. Once you start your Pinterest account, it's a free thing you can set up to have a login to Pinterest. It's for free. Then whether you use it on a desktop or mobile, you can alternate between if you like. So there'll be times I'll be sitting at my computer looking up stuff on Pinterest, and later I might be in front of the TV and just having a little scroll around in Pinterest on my phone during an ad break, for example. So why do you want to use Pinterest? Why might you spend time on this? Well, there are lots and lots of things you can do there. So researching, for example, researching a trip, that is my number one reason to use Pinterest. I'm a travel blogger, remember, and a travel podcaster. So I love to travel, and I have lots of boards with ideas for trips for the future. And when I'm researching a trip, I can go crazy on Pinterest, find lots of information and pin all of those bits of information to one board. Maybe, planning a trip to Hong Kong board. Research for lots of things. Garden design, for example, might be another thing that you want to research, or a home renovation. You might just be looking for inspiration. You might be looking for, want to make a cake, or want to make something crafty. That kind of thing there's so much on Pinterest. People from those kind of niches have been using Pinterest really widely for a long time. So you can see there on the right an example of just searching for train birthday cake, and lots of pins there. So it might be that you just really want to see the pictures and save them to give you some inspiration, or it might be that you want the information behind them. People often use it just to keep collections of things together as well. So, for example, if you make a vision board and you're thinking, these are the things I'm dreaming about in my future, or a mood board. So, I want to make a renovation, or I want to sort of plan my wedding and I want it to look kind of like this, and you start collecting things that are give the right kind of aesthetics. And you might just thoroughly enjoy browsing through Pinterest for fun and relaxation. I've got a couple of examples of the kinds of things you might find. So this is a board that somebody made on planning their trip to Italy. It's not mine, I must say, but this is the kind of typical thing that a typical Pinterest user will do. They found, things that they might want to try. They found information. You can see there in the top right, traveling as a celiac to find some gluten-free food in Italy. Florence at night, so places to visit. So basically, lots and lots of pictures and information to help them plan their trip to Italy. This is the, I need some information. So recipe for chocolate brownies is what I searched for. And look what I found. There's so many. Of course, the problem is, which one do you want? I don't know. But actually quite attracted to the best easy fudgy chocolate brownies because, well, they sound easy. And they say they're the best, so they must be good. So you can get, you can definitely plan every meal you ever make ever again just by using Pinterest. And if I click through onto one of those pins, if I click through, it'll open up a page that will show me the recipe on a website somewhere. And I also mentioned doing it for vision boards or something like that. So this is somebody's vision board I found, rather than, some people will make a physical vision board with, cut up magazines and things, but Pinterest is a great place to make a vision board as well. So how do you find these interesting pins? There's lots and lots of ways. Mostly you can search for either pins or boards. You can see there on the right an example of just doing a bit of dog hunting, looking at cavoodles, and I sorted that so I could look by boards, so I could find some interesting boards that all feature those pretty cute dogs. Equally, I could have just searched for pins. If I just put just cavoodles into the search without doing anything else, I'll just get lots of individual pins about them. Now, if you don't find what you're looking for, then just use more detailed keywords. It's, very similar to using Google, and Pinterest is pretty good at figuring out what you want. If you, for example, click through I click through that very first board of on the example there of cavoodles from Jane, and I might find that there's lots of things in her profile that I want to look more deeply at. Maybe she has, some other comparison boards with other similar kinds of dogs that I want to look at. So I can just keep clicking around. So my warning is, don't get lost forever. It's easy to do. It can be that you just keep finding new things and saving things. But if you've got time to do that, then go for it. It can be a lot of fun and definitely inspiring. So once you find these pins, what are you going to do with them? You want to make sure you can save them. So you can save them by clicking or tapping on the red save button. Once you're in there, you'll see it. And you can create nearly any number of boards so that you can save each pin into a certain board. They say on Pinterest these days, you can have up to 2,000 boards. I think that's more than enough. I have maybe 30, and I think 2,000 is crazy. It used to be a max of 500. It's recently become 2,000. So anyway, you can create boards, it might be, dinner recipes or garden ideas or bathroom renovation or trip to Italy or whatever, and you can save pins into those boards. Now, if you want to, you can actually also create sections within your boards, so they're like sub-boards if you want to. So maybe you're planning a 40th birthday party, and that's the board, planning our 40th. And then you might have sections like, cake ideas, music ideas, decoration ideas or something like that. And you can also do a bit of kind of administration with Pinterest. You can actually merge boards if you want to later on. Now, what about if you want to add your own pin, like maybe so that other people might come across it, or just because you want to keep it in a collection? So you can create your own pin by using there's a plus sign. So in the desktop version of Pinterest, it's red. If you're in the app version, it's grey. But once you do that, you'll get to this create a pin section. You can add a photo or a link, write a description, and choose a board that you want to. Now, if you are often browsing on the internet in general and you want to start saving things into collections, then you can add a Pinterest browser button to your internet browser. And if you just Google Pinterest browser button, then what will come up will be some instructions from Pinterest. So typically you just have to download a little app which will put a Pinterest P into your browser, and then when you're on a page that you want to save, you just hit P and it will then come up with a Pinterest box and say, which board do you want to save this to, and so on. So nice and easy. Now, here's an interesting thing that a lot of users of Pinterest probably haven't thought about, is that Pinterest is also used extensively by businesses in a few different ways. Now, the one you probably realize if you've used Pinterest at all is Pinterest advertising. So you can see here in that example on the left, that screenshot, that the top right image with the rainbow earrings, just underneath it, it says promoted by. So that's what they call a promoted pin. That's part of Pinterest advertising. So these appear throughout your feed. They're always labeled as promoted. They're usually fairly relevant, so that's so they're not too annoying. And the more you search on Pinterest in general, the more Pinterest gets to know, what your interests are, and it can provide you with, useful kind of ads, or relevant ads at least. But you also always will know that they're promoted. So that's one way that businesses use it, especially if you're selling products and the kind of products that people are going to be searching for in Pinterest. Then that can be a very effective advertising strategy. Now, the way I use Pinterest the most is the second version here. So it's widely used to get traffic to a website. Remember, I described it as like a visual Google. And I have a travel blog. And of course, on my travel blogs, there's lots of information about traveling to certain places. And so people will be in Pinterest and they might find a pin from me about 7 things to do in Copenhagen. And they either might directly click through and then they come to my website, or they might save it to a board, say they're planning a trip to Denmark, and they might come back and have a look at it later. But that's kind of how it works for me as a blogger, and for lots of other people who who use Pinterest with the hope of getting traffic, because it has that kind of visual Google nature. It works really effectively. I get lots and lots of visitors to my website from Pinterest. And the final way that some businesses use Pinterest is to use the boards to kind of showcase some of their work, or in a kind of almost mood board sense to help clients make some choices. So, for example, a wedding planner might have a bunch of boards in there. A board might be, floral options or decoration options or celebrant options or things like that. And it can be a really kind of fun and interactive way for people to figure out some of the choices that they want to make. So that is my overview on Pinterest. I encourage you deeply to go and have a play around in Pinterest if you haven't used it before, or hopefully you've learned something new and there's some new things you can try in Pinterest. It's a fascinating place. I love it because it's always easy to find something really interesting or fun or inspirational. As my second dot point there says, be careful of deep Pinterest rabbit holes. If you are about to dive into Pinterest, then make sure you know what time you need to do something next. Make sure you don't spend too long in there. I don't encourage that, of course. But otherwise, do enjoy using Pinterest. Hopefully you discover some new and inspiring ideas and information. So go and have some Pinterest fun. Thanks.